during this very challenging time where we had to be forced to be separate from our friends and our colleagues, I was really grateful for this Anchor app, which has allowed me to continue the podcast after almost 1 year of working on it. It's free. You simply go to anchor.fm and download the app. And there you'll find all the tools that you need to record and edit your podcast, as well as to invite people onto your podcast through the app. Anchor also distributes the podcast for you on Apple, Spotify, and many other platforms. You have absolutely nothing to do except to record your podcast. If you have an ad like this, you can also make money. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. I would recommend it for anyone who wants to get their voice out there, has something to contribute. Go for it. Anchor.fm is where you go to download the free app and to get started. Good luck with your podcast. Welcome to a new episode of the Bees and Honey podcast. Today we're speaking with Olivier Varenne, who is a private art dealer and curator of Mona in Tasmania. He's going to tell you all about his story, as well as some fun parts of his job and some strange parts, and just his wonderful life in art. I hope you enjoy it. Good to speak to you. How are you doing, Olivier?
I'm good, and you? How are you this Christmas Eve?
I'm quiet. I like it quiet these days, not as wild as when we used to hang out in the old days.
So, tell me about your podcast.
Well, I've been having a few interesting people on. Today I spoke to a woman who's doing these art puzzles. It's a project she started during the lockdown. Art times puzzles, and I think it's interesting to get these works out to every home because they're at an affordable price point.
We see.
Rachel Banslet is her name. She used to be a director of Yvonne Lambert, and now she's pretty much working on her own. But I'll send you a link to that.
I know, Rachel. Please do. Okay. I know. Okay. And is that a project she's doing on her own?
Yes. I think well, America has been in a lockdown, so everyone's pretty much working alone unless they're in a gallery context with other employees, and even then they're still alone. But tell me a little bit about you. I was inspired by your website just to see how much you've been doing in the last few years. Tell us how you started in art and how you grew up, and a little bit about what you do now.
So I've been working for about 15 years now at the Museum of Old and New Art in Tasmania, in Australia. And prior to that, I was working for Gagosian. I kind of started my career at Gagosian before I had like some internship at Pace and worked in Santa Fe with Laura Carpenter. I come from a family background in art. My grandfather was collector of modern art. I had a father dealer of Dubuffet, Christo, Jean-Pierre Reynaud, another important artist. And my mother was the muse of Yves Saint Laurent in the 60s. And yeah. So I worked. I've been around the art and artists for a long time, and working for David Walsh was an interesting change. I think I met you more or less at the beginning of this adventure.
Yes, this odyssey. Yeah. And I was inspired then as well by your stories about working with him and going so far off the grid and doing the walk up to Mona, this wild trip. Tell us about it. You've been there 13 years now as curator and director of acquisition. How has it been working there? The best and the worst times.
So I think maybe almost 15 years, maybe 13 years, I don't know. I started as doing a bit of everything for David, but mainly buying. I bought most of his contemporary art collection, and I was lucky enough that he gave me a budget, and I was off to go all around the world and to fairs, artist studio, and collectors, and finding some art for him. Some of the most interesting stuff we bought at the beginning was before the museum opened, was from Charles Saatchi. We bought from him some YBAs, young British artists, including the Holy Virgin Mary that started the success of Mona years before we opened. David at that time was not so known as me, and this coup gave us kind of a small name on the place. We then started to commission some serious big names and interesting artists, but not only big names. I remember David once. There were this young artist. I was pushing David to meet and to look at his work, and we bought a small work. I think we paid 30,000 euro, and around that small work, David developed with him a $20 million project. So we don't only commission works by Turrell and Wim Delvoye or Charles Ross or big names. We also look at some younger artists like Oliver Beer. That was the artist we commissioned, and around a small project we made something huge for him. So that was the excitement of working in such place with such freedom. And yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ask your question.
No, I was only going to say in some ways you're combining the curating with art dealing when you work with David. It's almost the two sides of you are becoming one.
But art dealing is this is something I do because we can't buy everything we are interested. I remember one of the saddest story is one time I offered a work that I was totally in love with. And as you know, Mona is collecting. At the beginning, the main theme of Mona was sex and death. Now we move on to many other things, but the main theme was sex and death. And I found for him one of these Bonnard painting of a woman in a bath, which was this very sexual and very sensual work of art. But it was like in the very yellow and very bright colors. And it also almost looked something like a coffin or something very, it links really sex and death together. And David didn't buy it. We couldn't buy it. We couldn't afford it at that time. And it made me want to be also a dealer from time to time when we're not buying what we wish for or when we're missing some work. I think it's an opportunity for me to also continue, because when you place a work, it's something very it's very rewarding when you place a great work. It's very interesting to find work, and at the moment, like recently, I just found during last month, I was discovering some interesting stuff. David wanted to buy a magic lantern, so it was something I didn't really knew what it was and how to find it, and I became an expert in the past 3-4 months. And so also buying works is fantastic. It's like, I think what I enjoy is to have the freedom to do purchasing, selling, curating, and it's all one thing. Like it's just putting your nose into books or into research and finding links, finding gems, finding collectors is really like connecting the dots. So this is what I find interesting.
So I guess you would say David was a big influence in the most recent part of your life, but who were the other influences on what you do as you were growing up? Like, I know your dad for sure,
My dad,
maybe
of
some
course.
artists. Mm-hmm.
There were this art dealer in. He was a shrink, but now he became an art dealer called Giovanni Springmeyer. I've always very much enjoyed working with him, and I haven't spoken to him for 10 years maybe. But at the beginning, he was really an interesting figure. I really enjoyed. Some obscure friend that you won't know, but he won some Oscars for best documentary, such as Inside Job. Charles Ferguson, who was a very much interesting figure in my life. I enjoyed very much the past Sheikh Saud Al Thani, which was a fantastic man. He was one of the biggest collector, and I enjoy a lot spending afternoon with him, looking at the art and discussing art. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've got so many people who are interesting. It's a fascinating work. Like it's such an open question you're asking.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I know. Maybe too
yes,
many, which is okay too.
yeah.
And so what did you take away from working in these galleries like Gagosian and Pace? I guess you took away that you can do this for yourself and be an independent art dealer.
No, they're great. They're fantastic galleries. I often contemplate going back to some of these big galleries. It's such
Ah,
fantastic to have
interesting.
these great structures. Um, and I think in the future, and like once you've got once you go in these big structures, I guess you can find the freedom of doing many other things. Um, um, I think I was maybe too young when I went there, and so I think when you've got a bit more experience, you probably get more to enjoy the openness and the vastness of what you can do. They've got potential
Right,
of
right.
achieving things, of moving works, of doing exhibition. Like when you look at some exhibitions that Gagosian is doing, is like it's their museum shows. They are they are as
Yes.
good as museum shows, and they've got the mean to do the best project.
Mm-hmm.
So the line between the museum, at least between some museum and galleries, it's very fine. Galleries are just much faster and quicker to move things. But,
Yes, yes.
um,
So I asked you, go
yes,
ahead, go
no,
ahead.
no.
No, go ahead.
You tell me you don't have so much time, so I'm ready to kick on some questions and then put my Christmas dinner in the oven. So let's do it.
Well, now that I start talking to you, I forget all the other stuff I have to do. I'm
I
actually
do
just
have people
in the.
coming tonight, so I need to do it.
Okay, that's good. Well, let me run through these then. I won't ask some of the more boring questions like about Mona, but tell us about Art Geneva and what you're planning to do there. Who are you showing? Like how many people do you expect to show up at this Art Genève? Where are they coming from, considering the lockdown?
So as I said, I've been working with David Walsh and Mona for many years, and I still continue that. At the moment, I'm working on a new development. He's doing a new series of tunnel and making some propositions for this new projects of him.
Mm-hmm.
And on the side, I'm a collector myself. I just brought my Christmas present yesterday, a large drawing by Hans Belmer that was owned by Georges Pompidou, and so I always enjoy dealing with some important works or some interesting young artists. So I've got in my house, which is Alpha House, Alpha Gallery. I've got a Picasso drawing in front of me, a Cindy Sherman, a Conrad Shawcross, Herman Nietzsche, some antiquities. It's a big and some very young artists. So it's a big mix of my taste and for Art Geneva, I wanted to be a bit more out there, saying that I've got what I'm doing as a dealer. So Tony Ursula, which I've done an exhibition at Mona a few years ago in an
Mm-hmm.
abandoned zoo. I thought he was the perfect guy for me to start doing a show. So he's producing some new works for me, and and they're quite fantastic. So it's going to be a solo show of Tony Horsler with new works, 4 new sculptures, and some drawings, and maybe in the back rooms I will have another sort of show, but in such of Hans Bellmer, but this is to be discussed yet. And
Very, very, very
unfortunately,
nice.
Art Geneva has been postponed. We were supposed to be at the end of January, and now it's going to be in March or April. So we'll have time for you to come to see for yourself. Yes.
Absolutely, yes. I will be definitely ready to get out of here by then. I mean, first I'm going to the sun, then I will come up there and hang out in the snow with
Where
you
are you going
guys.
on the sun?
Anywhere south of the equator. I mean, I'll let you know offline. But tell me a little bit. This whole pandemic has changed the schedule for the art fairs. And has it changed the way you think about exhibitions for Mona? Because Mona just got this accolade from Christie's that they're the best virtual museum during the pandemic. How you
Not
come up with
virtual
ideas?
museum. It was not a virtual museum. We've got a work by Wim Delvoye, which is
Mm-hmm.
a guy which his back is tattooed by work by Wim Delvoye, and he's
Mm-hmm.
coming. I think it's about 6 months per year, every year, to sit down at the museum and show his back. And as he's so
Mm-hmm.
committed, and as he enjoyed this kind of meditation throughout this time, he has come and he has sat down with no public, just cameras linked to our website, and people could look at Tim sitting down during the entirety of the confinement.
Brilliant.
And then we've got another artist
Brilliant.
that I commissioned years ago called Ryoji Ikeda, who does this fantastic
Mm-hmm.
light in the sky. I think it's 64 massive projectors that are used for the Navy. And you can use one of them, and it goes tens of miles away. It's the strongest projector in the world, and we've got 64 of them, all calibrated to lit parallel in the sky, and it's this kind of connection with heaven. And so we had
Absolutely.
those 2 works at Mona during the first confinement, and that was what Christie's value as the best and strongest exhibition during COVID. The
Well, I can
yes,
see
and
why.
the change of exhibition. To tell you the truth, during the past year, I haven't been to Mona due to COVID, and I've been focusing on a lot of the collection, and how to deal with the collection, and how to deal with some research I had to do, and in terms of future exhibition, I kind of postponed because everything has been postponed. We're just reopening the Mona in day after tomorrow on the 26th of December,
Mm-hmm.
and we show the
Mm-hmm.
collection. It's a new show a new hang of the collection, which I unfortunately couldn't really be part of, as the team there could work easily together without me being miles away. And so I'm going to refocus on the exhibition program, and the list when things are reopening. Hopefully, the vaccine will come soon.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are relying on the vaccine. I'm not, but I know a lot of people
Hmm.
are. Um, so we can end with one quick question about the old masters because our mutual friend, who's the old masters expert, I love talking to him. Is there any old master that you really love and you can tell us why?
I loved many of them, but I think Georges de la Tour is one of my favorites. I love the way he invented this kind of very specific light, this very specific atmosphere in his painting, and I like very much the complexity of the eyes, and how some of the works are kind of almost moving. There's really an atmosphere that you feel that you're inside the work. I think also I found Archimboldo. I liked him very much because he's totally outside and he was totally like not taken seriously for years, and he really brought something totally new in the look of the old master. And I would say maybe as well. Yeah, I like many old masters, but it's not something I would buy. I don't feel so comfortable of buying an old master. I find I love going to the National Gallery and going to see the Holbein or the Rubens and the Rembrandt. But if I've got to choose one, I always probably the most enjoy to see the De la Tour at the Louvre. Georges de la Tour at the Louvre, it's something always give me a very special pleasure. Yes.
Very sweet. Well, now I'm
Which one is your favorite?
Your mom, who you said. That's a good question. I kind of like women these days, like Artemisia Gentileschi. I like to find things that are not so often in the art history books, the artists that were forgotten. I mean, I love, for example, Bernini, just because he was so sensual in a time when sensuality couldn't really be a big thing, with those church works like Saint Teresa and Ecstasy and stuff like that. I mean, I like any male artist that engaged with females, not just as an object of desire, but understood that there was more to women than just a naked body. But talking about that, I'm gonna look for your mom because I didn't know she was amused to Yves Saint Laurent. I'm gonna see how beautiful she was, or what your ideal of beauty might be from your mom's perspective.
Yeah, I WhatsApp your name. Danielle Luquet Saint-Germain. Okay, so nice to discuss with you, Nicolette. I wish you a wonderful Christmas.
Yes.
Great end of the year, and I hope to see you in the new year. Big kiss.
Yes.
Ciao.
Bye
bye.
Great
Ciao.
dinner. Take care. Thanks for joining us again on another episode of the Bees and Honey podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to Olivier Varenne and his wonderful stories about art. I hope it inspired you to do great work yourself, and hopefully we'll have many more opportunities to see great work by him in 2021. Have fun. Take care. Bye.